Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's another episode of the Health Wealth Podcast. Another fun, interesting, and educational episode for you again this week. We've got Barry is back with us again, and we have a returning guest again who's here by popular demand, I would like to say. So first off, Barry, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me, and yeah, happy to be on and discussing some interesting topics that we've got today, and looking forward to our returning guest, Akis, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to be kind of answering some general questions people have, and looking through a couple of memes. Last time Akis was on with us, we were going through a couple of memes and kind of talking about, and we didn't get through them all. So we've got a couple more to do, some questions to do. So Akis, welcome back again to the show. This is your hat trick, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, fantastic. Really well, thanks. I've got my coffee in hand here, with a little bit of sea salt sprinkled in it as well, so we can talk about the timing of the coffee and why I put a bit of sea salt in, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go on. Give us it now then. Give us the info now. Let's start off with that. What's your reasoning?
Okay, so caffeine is one of these things where you're thinking, what are you really drinking here? You're drinking the roasted bean of a plant that's had hot water sort of pressured through it to produce this beverage. So, why do people drink coffee? Some people drink it for taste. Some people drink it because they want to avoid drinking things that are unhealthy. And some people drink it for the caffeine. So for me, it's a combination of all three. I think caffeine, well timed, can be a brilliant ergogenic aid. I think blocking adenosine can be a way to bypass fatigue and improve performance, both physical and cognitive. But I think first thing in the morning is the wrong time. I tend to wait for my cortisol to sort of dip and then take advantage of caffeine sort of when you've woken up naturally, and maybe sort of mid-afternoon, you just want that sort of kicker, yeah? And that's why I'm drinking it now. The reason I put a little bit of sea salt in it is just to put some minerals in my body. I find that if I put a bit of salt in this and I'm drinking water on the side, it just helps sort of hydrate me so that I don't need to sort of backload my water later in the day, because I'm quite guilty of not drinking enough fluid during the day and drinking it all in the evening, which kind of gets me up in the middle of the night. So that's the reason I put a little bit of sea salt in there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, very good. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that dehydration is a lack of salt issue, not a lack of water issue. So yeah, getting the salt in is a smart move there. Right, so let's jump into questions. The first one we've got is one which is a general one which we hear a lot. One we've talked about a bit on this show, but that probably has still a lot of controversy, which is what's more important for losing weight? Is it eat less, exercise more, or eat the right foods? So Akis, as the guest, do you want to jump in first and give your opinion on that question?
Yeah, I love this question. This is probably one of the most highly contentious questions sort of out there in the field of nutrition and health in general. I'm firmly in the camp of people that are overweight. The main issue is they're eating the wrong foods. And the reason that I say that is once you get them eating the right diet, it is almost impossible to overeat. It's almost impossible not to lose weight, irrespective of how much they're exercising. And the reason they can't overeat is because when you return to the natural human diet, you know when to stop. And in fact, I don't know if you ever tried overeating meat. It's near on impossible.
Yeah, exactly. It is, absolutely. I agree completely. Barry, do you want to give a little insight into what your view is of this question?
Yeah, I think what Akis is saying really holds true in terms of my experience, especially as someone who does intermittent fasting. I find that when you leave your body to perform a lot of the amazing jobs that it does when it's in a fasted state, and then you start to eat later in the day. I find that, especially when you're eating meat, red meat, beef, especially, that you don't feel as full up as quickly, and you actually feel satiated in a very good way. But you can actually take on quite a lot, and not feel bloated at all. So, and that very much ties into not having to count, measure how many grams of meat or how much calories that you're taking in. You just feel satiated in a really good way, and you don't feel that you're overstepping the line in terms of what your body can handle, because it's very easily digestible and very easily processed by the body. So that's absolutely spot on for me. And when you are putting the right foods into your body, the reactions are all the correct ones. Your body knows how to process and deal with it and release that energy in terms of the content. So, and when you're eating the wrong types of foods, you think that you're actually still hungry, but your body is, taking on those carbs, and that's when the weight gain starts to come into effect. So yeah, definitely from my experience, I can definitely agree with what Akis has just said.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree with what both of you said. It's for me, it's absolutely the right foods. Exercise, especially if someone's first looking to lose weight and they're well overweight, they don't even need to worry about exercise. They want to eat the right foods. That's going to make them lose weight, and then they can look at exercise later. It's about, as we've said before on this, calories in, calories out doesn't work all the time. So as a basic principle, it might kind of hold up in some, but it's not how it actually works. Even though sometimes it works. If sometimes it doesn't work, that means it doesn't work. Like if you have a hypothesis for something that works 80% of the time, then your hypothesis is wrong. It needs to work 100% of the time. So it doesn't work. It's about our hormones. And if we're eating the right foods and our hormones are acting in the right way, then we'll be fine. As we know, we talk about this a lot. Insulin. If insulin is raised, your body is going to be storing fat. It's going to be locking fat away. It's not going to burn it. It wants to get rid of the glucose from your system, and it's storing the fat and it's adding weight to your body. If insulin's low and you've got glucagon high, guess what? Your body's burning fat all the time, and you're going to lose weight. So it's about your hormones and not your calories. So absolutely, it's eating the right foods. I can personally attest to this. When I lost weight, as I said before, I started eating more food, doing less exercise, and I lost 1.5 stone. And it's the same for everyone else I see. So I think it's pretty obvious to us that eating the right foods is the right way to go. Like, yes, if you were to eat less and exercise more, it might work a little bit at first, but long term, it's not possible to keep up, and it's not going to be healthy and good for you. So that's pretty much my overall views. I don't know, do either of you two have anything else you want to add on before we move on to another subject?
Yeah, I'll probably just add that the vast majority of people who run into problems with weight they're overfed but undernourished. And once you understand this concept, you need to get maximum nutrients in per gram of energy that you're consuming. Now, if you do that, the chances of being overfed is near on impossible, because your body's sensing the input of these nutrients, and the right foods, nutrient dense red meats, will become unpalatable to you very quickly once you sense that you've got enough nutrition in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got the whole hormonal profile working perfectly elegantly alongside of this. You do not have the spikes in blood sugar. You do not have perpetually elevated blood sugar and insulin, which is creating the perfect environment for you to manage your energy in and energy out. It just works so elegantly if you follow that model. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that set. I've heard it before, that overfed and undernourished. That's 90% of the planet today, I think. Overfed and undernourished. They're just eating rubbish. And I had this conversation recently with someone talking about calories and saying that, your body doesn't require calories, your body requires nutrients. So as you give it the right nutrients, that's when your body becomes full. It doesn't get full of calories. The body doesn't know what a calorie is. You know, yes, our body needs energy, but we can make energy from a load of things, and we're carrying over 100,000 calories of fat on us at any one time. So, of calories of worth of fat. So, you know, we don't need calories to function. We need nutrients. And once we understand that, and as you said, if we aim to just give our body the right nutrients, don't worry about calories, give it the right nutrients, guess what? Our body will naturally start to lose weight and go to the shape it's meant to be. I'll be honest, right now, where I've been, I lost about 1.5 stone, and I ate a lot of food for someone who's my size, my height, my build. I eat a lot of food. My wife always laughs. I'll say at the end of the day, I haven't eaten that much. She'll say, what have you eaten? I'll list it off, and she's like, yeah, that's quite a lot. It's basically impossible for me to add any weight on. You know, in order to, I actually kind of want to add a bit of bulk on, a bit more muscle, and the only way I am able to do that is by exercising lots. But by food, I can eat as much food as I possibly can fit in, and I won't put on any weight because I'm just eating the right foods that won't allow me to. They'll allow me to build muscle, but obviously I've got to work my muscles to build it. If you don't work it, they're not going to, you know, magically build. But yeah, that.
I had 4 pork shoulder steaks on Friday, I think, and I thought 2 would be at that point would be enough, but I just kept eating it, and even after that, that's quite a lot. I think I can't remember how many grams. It was close to. It was definitely over 500, but actually no, it was a little bit less than that. But I didn't actually feel full after it. You know, I just felt satiated and that I could carry on because of the content of what I was eating was full of nutrition, and there was no sugar or no carbs in it. So, perfect example.
Yeah, and it alludes to, like Akis said before, the wonderful thing of eating this way is that you can listen to your body. If on one day you eat a certain amount, you're still hungry, your body wants more, you eat more. If on the next day you might eat half of that and you feel full, well, that's fine. Your body's got enough, and it's easy to listen to it, but only when you're eating the right way, of course. Right, let's jump on. So we've got some memes that we're going to go through. We ran through these on the live episode, so I'll share them on the video so people can see them. Obviously, if people are listening on the audio podcast, I'll just give a brief description of it. So the first one we've got is basically 2 fat cats, as in blokes making lots of money, not actual cats. Food corp and healthcare, and they're basically shaking hands. There's loads of money there, and there's all the rubbish food and the medication that we have. So again, Akis, do you want to jump in first and take your interpretation of this? And
okay, so I'm seeing this this meme here, the food corp healthcare, the fat cats.
Yeah.
So I think most people will look at this and think, well, you know, there's 2 distinct entities that seem to sort of feed into each other and have somehow discovered that one system feeds into the other. I'm going to push back against that interpretation and say that they are really the one overarching entity, if you like. So they're both essentially funded by the same corporations. So if you think of, you know, your Blacklocks of the world, State Street, etc., they've got vested interest in both the food manufacturing industry and also the healthcare industry. So for them to create a healthcare market that's perpetuated by a food industry that is putting into the human food chain entirely the wrong foods that are both addictive and destructive to health at the same time, simultaneously, then they create an entire industry on the back of this that they are also funding. So at a high level, this is what I see here.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry, you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, just really echoing on what Akis is saying. Absolutely, they're both they're on the same. They're funding each other and they're on the same team, and the money's just going round. So, you know, that the food corp, well, a lot of these foods that they say we should be eating that aren't actually good for us, and then in comes all the medications through the pharmaceutical industry to, you know, come in and try and paper over the cracks, and then it just goes round. So, yeah, that's a really good example. Well illustrated. Yeah, they're both under the same umbrella. but it's made to seem as though they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a great little, as you say, animation to show it. And one of the things to pick out from it, which is what we really try and get through to people, is that, you know, what they're both interested in is money. You know, they're both there with their bags of money, and that's what they're interested in. And they use the products they give to us to make themselves even more money. You know, like with a traditional drug dealer who, you know, they give out the free sample to someone to get them hooked to their drugs so that they keep coming back, and then they need more and more. And that's what they do with the junk foods and with the medication. You know, you get a medication, and guess what? It's going to have side effects which require you to have another medication. You know, you eat the junk food and you get addicted to junk food, and you want more and more and more, and it's just, and then it sends you over to the side of the medication. And like you say, a lot of them are literally the same companies. You know, a huge amount of food companies that do processed foods are Seventh-day Adventists from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they also own huge stocks and huge amounts of pharmaceutical companies too, because they know they're making money both ways. They make you sick and then get money treating you. Not that they help you at all by treating you, but you know, they're making money on both sides. And we need people to understand that, because, you know, we kind of laugh about it and it's a funny meme, but this is the reality. You know, that they're literally taking away your health, poisoning you to make money on both sides, and you're getting absolutely nothing out of it. And people just need to kind of wake up and take control of their own health and realize they don't care about you, they care about money, and you need to care about yourself.
Yeah, very well said, Ryan. And do you know that they reinvest so many of their profits into strategies to help this system run? Everything from dietary guidelines, to the charities and institutions that publish these dietary guidelines, to medical school for doctors, everything from the curriculum, what they're taught in their 6 years at university is really all about treating the symptoms. There's nothing in there about preventative medicine whatsoever, about functional medicine. Next to nothing. Public health messaging. None of the public health messaging is about prevention. I can think of very little, if any at all, that speaks to that. So every stage, from school to advertising to public health messaging to university to the whole food and healthcare system, is invested in by these entities in order to push people away from their natural way of eating and manifest chronic disease. Yeah,
absolutely. It's ingrained, and that's why, you know, people are like, oh, why do all these doctors think this? You know, why is all this research done that appears to show it? And like you say, it's because they're indoctrinated. They've got control of the universities. They've got control of the medical system and the educational system. And so they're teaching them, this is how you have to think. This is the way it works. And so they come out and guess what? They think that. So it's all a big system out to get us. Right, let's move on to the next question. This is another one which I'm going to enjoy, because it's a topic I like to talk about. This is, why do people place such a huge emphasis on eating a balanced diet? So Akis, if you want to give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, everyone loves balance, right? Balance is just one of these sort of cool, sort of almost hippie-like sort of terms. Yeah, balance. Everybody loves balance. But why do you have to balance something good with something really bad? Where's the benefit there? Yeah. Where's the benefit? So as a basic principle, it sounds cool, and the balance is good in certain aspects in life, but does that necessarily apply to what you eat? And I would just urge you to pretty much look at any species in the planet and, you know, find the balance in what they eat. You know, they will always strive, any species will always strive to eat its species appropriate diet. Can assure you there is no balance there. The only time where you observe balance is in times of scarcity, where an animal will have a secondary system that will kick in if its natural habit cannot provide it with exactly what it needs to eat in order to thrive. And us as humans, we do have a very well evolved backup system. And, you know, perhaps our ability to survive on non-animal based products is what actually got us here, because there would have been times where we would not have been able to obtain our primary food source, which is red meat when we were eating megafauna, to perhaps when the megafauna died out, we had to transition to eating large ruminant animals. During times of war or scarcity, or when when populations were displaced, we did have this backup mechanism that allowed us to survive those times. But make no mistake about it, when humans thrived, when the human brain grew, when we became the apex predators that we are today, that's when we were eating meat. So we didn't seek balance then. We were forced into balance. And there's nothing different today, except for this idea of balance that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Barry, you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, just exactly as Akis said. I don't think it's part of it's a very big statement, but it's very true. I don't think anything great is achieved, regardless whether it's in diet or anything, through like balance. It's the bet you have to create the best conditions possible. So that just go is at all times, and if you can't, then obviously, as Akis says, there's a backup. In terms of what we can eat, we'll transition on to vegetables if we can find meat. But if the meat and animal-based products are available, then consuming it all the time is what you should be doing in order to achieve like truly optimal health. And it's the same with anything. For example, through my gymnastic career, I didn't have a balanced life. It was very singular and intense in one direction. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made the level that I did. If I had a balanced sort of childhood, then I wouldn't have gone as far as I did. So it's the same with food. You have a balanced diet, then the results are going to be pretty average, and you're going to experience some health problems, earlier than you should. Whereas if you make the mainstay of your diet animal-based, then you're going to be far healthier, and you're going to be far better equipped to deal with things like viruses, a lot less chances of chronic developing inflammation and chronic diseases as well. So, it's another example of like during times of famine, or like during the Ice Age, for example. The Ice Age, you couldn't grow vegetables, so there was a lot of meat consumption. That's what they had to survive on. And other times when there was no meat, then you had to make do with plant-based products, which fortunately, as Akis says, we've been able to survive on, not to such a high standard, but we've been able to survive on them. So it's the science is all there, as Akis says.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, to succeed at anything, to be optimal at anything, and to do the best, you have to go all in. As you said, with gymnastics, the same in everything, with business in life. If you want to really make it at business, you want to make it in a sport, you've got to go all in at it. And, if you want your health to be optimal, then you need to be fully committed to it. And I always say to people, when they say about balanced diet, I say, balance what? What are you balancing? Like Akis said, why are you balancing good with bad? Like what, a good meal with a bad meal? Like what are you balancing? As you said, and again, Akis, you use my favorite topic to talk about this. You don't say to a lion, but you're eating a bit much meat there, do you not want to balance it out with some vegetables? You're not in a balanced diet, you're not going to be healthy. Like, no, they eat what is good for them. Every species eats what's good for them. We are the only species that have decided that although we know what's good for us and we have plenty of what's good for us, let's also add in a load of stuff that's not good for us. And we're the only species that does that, and we're the sickest species in the world. As I always say again on this topic, the only other species that have the same issues as us are pets, and they're also fed a terrible diet. In the wild, it doesn't happen. In the wild, they eat what they're meant to, and they thrive. And that's what we as humans should be doing. And as you said, both of you have brought up that, in the past, if we couldn't get enough sustenance through animal products, we would have been forced to eat some plant products to survive, and we were able to adapt to that. Nowadays, we're not short of animal products. So why do we need to be eating these other products? You know, we don't need to. Like, you know, one of the things is that in when it came to wintertime, you know, things like the Inuits and other places, they probably would have eaten berries and other things for two reasons. One, because it was available at the time, the extra sustenance. Two, it tells your body to store fat for the winter. Wants to get you through. You're less likely to have food in the winter, so it's fattening you up, giving you the excess energy. In this day and age, when we come to winter, we don't have to worry about being cold, and we don't have to worry about shortage of food. So we don't need to be doing that. You know, it's just, there's no argument I can see for a balanced diet. You know, as you say, it's just become a cool phrase. You know, like your five fruit and veg a day. Oh yeah, you need that. Where'd that come from? Someone made it up. Balanced diet. Where'd that come from? Someone made it up. There's no science behind it.
No, it's garbage.
But there's a lot of science behind the messaging, Ryan. You know, the concept of balance leaves open a whole wide array of consumer products that you should be adding in for what you think is for your health. None of it is for your health. Yeah. And it's interesting what you said about, you know, you would occasionally find fruit at a certain time of year when, you know, plants would produce fruit and detoxify and sweeten it for, in order for you to eat. But, you know, let's face it, how many of us are really going to suffer from periods of cold during the winter where you have to sleep outside? We're all fortunate enough to live in advanced economies, yeah? And most people can afford to be sheltered in the winter. So where's the benefit of eating fructose in order to convert it straight to fat? How does that help you?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. There's no benefit. We don't need to eat a balanced diet. We just need to eat what's actually good for us. And there's no need for balance. You know, people say, oh, you can't eat that much meat. You need some veg on your plate. Why? Why? It's not good for you. It's not needed. Right, let's jump on to our next little meme that we've got. Again, this is another good one. It's all leading on to the same topic. So this one is guy up the front of med school. It's the first day of med school. He's got his lab coat on. He's pointing at the board, and it says, "A patient cured is a customer lost." So I think this one I've shared before, and this one is funny but true. So it's kind of not funny. So again, Akis, if you want to give us your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, you see that they're not writing this particular message on the blackboard when they're teaching medical students, but every part of the curriculum has this principle at its heart. And the reason we know this is because we don't go and see doctors in order to remain healthy or to improve our health. That never happens. You know, if I go to my doctor and say, you know, I'm kind of feeling, you know, 80% at the moment, but, you know, I could feel a bit better. Have you got some recommendations for me? What do you think your doctor would say?
Yeah, you'll get nothing.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at your, everything looks normal. So carry on as you are, yeah. Nothing to see here, yeah. And it's only when things start going wrong that the system then sort of kicks in to think, right, okay, we can attribute a name to this particular symptom, and we can have a cure for this particular ill. But are they really solving any root cause? Are they doing any root cause analysis? Very little, if any. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, if I break a limb, I want a doctor, and I want a doctor fast. That's when I respect medicine. But chronic disease management, it's all about this message here. A patient cure is a customer lost.
Absolutely. Barry, what's your views on this one?
Perfectly put. I can't add anything onto that. That was just really well articulated. And yeah, as you say, they have quotas and they have targets to make, you know, in terms of what they're prescribing and, you know, the products that the pharmaceutical companies are providing them with. So they have to get these out. So they're not going to encourage or even try and lay out a plan for you to tackle the root cause, because then you won't come back for these medications and they won't make their targets. So, and that's when we talk about the cycle. with the pharmaceutical companies and in medicine, doctors and the whole medical system. It's just a big cycle. So they tell you how to tackle the root cause of the disease, and almost always it's through your diet and lifestyle, just about all of the time. Then you won't be back for appointments, and they won't get the chance to prescribe these and tick those boxes and make their quotas. So it's all pretty obvious when you lay it out that way. Absolutely correct what Akis has said.
I'll just add one thing, Ryan. There's so much ill health that is considered to be subclinical as well. You're not quite bad enough to be classed as unhealthy. So you're subclinical, so you don't have a health issue. And you wait for you to get really sick. Does that make sense? Before they start to treat the symptoms. Because if anybody takes action when it's subclinical, then the chronic disease management medical system doesn't get a chance to sort of kick in there, because it can be very easily reversed and very easily prevented at that stage. But there's really no money in that.
No. That's it. They want you to carry on and just reach that point where, okay, we've got a customer for life here. Let's get them on the drugs. I mean, and a perfect example is cancer. I mean, I don't even know. At some point, I'll have to do a Google search in how many millions or billions of dollars have been put into cancer research over the last 20 years. It'd be ridiculous. I know it will. And what have we got for it? Nothing. We've got absolutely nothing. They develop different types of chemo and different types of radiation. Nothing that helps. Cancer, we know what it is. We know how it works. Otto Warburg has gave us great insights into how the cells get their energy through the Warburg effect back in the, I think, 40s or 50s. We know. And there's people out there, I hear stories all the time, people reversing their cancer from just, eating right and fasting. That should be front page news in all of the media, and they should be putting millions of dollars into researching how does fasting and eating right reverse cancer. But do they? No, they don't. They will only put money into research that will come out with a product they can sell. If your research doesn't have a product at the end of it, you will not get funded. That's all they're interested in. And it's the perfect example, as you say, they want you as customers. It's a business plan. There's a reason why doctors literally have 5 to 10 minutes with you. Again, just to slightly defend and stick up for doctors, they don't really have long enough with you to look into your diet and lifestyle. I mean, they're not trained in doing that anyway, but even if they were, they don't have the time to. And there's a reason, because the medical system doesn't want them to do that. That's not part of their business plan. They want them to get you in, diagnose, prescribe, out. Next one, diagnose, prescribe, out. That's what they want them doing. That's what the system's set up to. So doctors are just a part of the system. I'm not personally putting all the blame on doctors, because they're a part of the system. That's how it's set up. That's how they're trained. But that's what it's for. We're just trying to open people's eyes to the fact that is the system, because too many people think the health system is there for your health. I'll be honest that, if you had asked me 5-6 years ago, I would have probably said it was there for my health. But it's not. And it's just waking people up to, okay, if the health system's not there for my health, then how am I going to look after my health?
Completely.
And then they can start to ask the questions and find the information, do it for themselves.
Well, you can't patent a ketone body, can you? You can't take beta hydroxybutyrate and slap a patent on it and start using it as a therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Do your research into ketones and the therapeutic potential, and there's a ton of information out there.
Yeah,
but no one's making any money on the back of that.
Exactly, and in fact, it's being made even harder to find. So now, if 2-3 years ago, if you were Googling or looking on YouTube for stuff about ketosis and keto, you'd find quite a lot. Now, YouTube and Google is really restricted. So if you search ketogenic diet on YouTube, instead of coming up with a lot of like Dr. Eric Berg and Dr. Ken Berry and people who promote it, what will come up is a lot of videos telling you why it's dangerous. They're really going hard on it. It's hard to get the message out. So you have to dig a bit deeper, but it is out there, the information, and you want to find it and improve your health.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the previous podcasts we did and we touched on, I think it was Dr. Jason Fung, who's a real advocate of a functional
fasting
medicine advocate, and advocate of intermittent fasting and low carbohydrate diet, high fat and high protein, in order to reverse the process of cancer. And he's laid it all out there, all the science. So it's just about finding that information and sifting through all the stuff that they're putting in front of you, that to prevent you from that. You know, all the barricades that they put in place, such as prevent you from actually searching properly ketogenic diets on YouTube, and sifting through that, digging a little bit deeper, and then you actually find the truth, you know.
That's it.
So these people have done the research, and it is there. It's there, plain, you know, solid.
That's it. It's out there. It's just a bit harder to find it. And as I always say, the stories are the most powerful. You know, if you can find the stories, there's stories of people using these things, using metabolic therapy and ketogenic diets and fasting to completely cure these conditions. And that's what you want to look at and trust. You know, if you've got a video that looks like it's funded by the pharmaceutical companies and telling you don't do this, it's dangerous, you might want to question that and look at real life stories. So as we touched on fasting, that brings us neatly on to the next question, which is an interesting one again, which is, why is intermittent fasting less important when you're on full carnivore? So do you want to jump in, Akis, with that one?
Yeah, I think this is it's a really, really good question, because I place a lot of emphasis on both fasting and both an animal-based diet. And I think, sort of, if you like, you know, an animal-based diet is a gateway into ketosis, and intermittent fasting is also a gateway into ketosis. Yeah. So they're both very useful tools, but where you've adopted an animal-based diet, you can be pretty sure that you're ingesting very little in the way of carbohydrates. Now, there will be a few grams of carbohydrate here and there, glycogen in the muscle. The liver stores quite a bit of glycogen. So if you're eating certain types of meat, maybe some organs, you will be ingesting a little bit of carbohydrate, and that's absolutely fine. That's completely congruent with a natural diet. But in essence, because you're not chronically elevating your blood sugar, because your insulin, you're getting a couple of bumps of insulin every time you have a meal, very quickly your blood sugar will return to normal. Protein as well is slightly insulinogenic, so you're creating, you know, the insulin, the mTOR response by eating protein. You don't necessarily need to fast. I think fasting is a very useful intervention for people who want to retain, you know, some carbohydrate in their diet, don't want to go full carnivore. I think that intermittent fasting simplifies it, because you have a shorter window of time to make mistakes. So because you're eliminating a big part of the day where you're not eating anything, so it's impossible to do anything wrong. You know, if you can only make a mistake in a 4 or 5 hour window, then let's limit your mistakes to that. You know, your indiscretions, if you like, to that 4 or 5 hours where you're actually eating. So if you're eating, you know, let's say anything processed, or you're eating processed plants especially, processed carbohydrates in that time, it's a much shorter time window. And at least then, you know, you're going to elevate your blood sugar, you're going to have this insulin response, but at least you've got a period of fasting where your body can sort of reset and undo some of the damage that you've done. So I think that intermittent fasting is very, very useful for those who don't go full carnivore. But I think once you've taken that leap and you've gone on to, you know, the ultimate proper ancestral human diet, I think intermittent fasting can be helpful, and you can obviously skip meals, but the benefits are somewhat diminished and far less necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Barry, you got any insights on that one?
The points about what Akis made about when you are intermittent fasting. So that's something that I do, because I choose to still have a small amount of carbohydrate, a bit of sugar as well, which is, again, not great, not perfect. I'm still trying to just get that down a little bit. I like a little bit of variety, even a little bit of variety, even though about at least 80% the overwhelming majority of my food is meat, fish, and eggs, and always will be. So that's why intermittent fasting is more important for myself. But it's also a lifestyle mindset thing as well. I've got that many things to do during the day. I'm really, really busy, and I just find that parking it until later on is just much better. It's better time-wise, it's better for my efficiency. Even though I could have, some meat in the afternoon and then have some later on as well, I could do that, and I have done that in the weekend. I'll have an omelette, for example, with some bacon and some. I've liked to do recently is some chorizo sausage, and I'll have that for lunch, and then I'll have dinner later on. So I'm not fasting quite as much, but normally day to day I'm that busy that I just park it till later on, and also because of the fact that I'm not fully carnivore yet either, but I think yourself, you pretty much transitioned on to full carnivore, and you don't really need to be fasting as much.
Yeah. So I just eat full carnivore. Yeah, I don't have any carbs. I mean, now and again, I have a little bit of cheese, which, of course, technically has a tiny bit of carbs. And, as people say, if you're being really finicky, like an egg might have 0.1 grams, if you want to say. But yeah, pretty much zero carb, just meat and eggs is what I eat. And, I agree with Akis that one of the main benefits of fasting, there's different benefits of fasting, there's autophagy and other stuff, but, keeping your insulin down and preventing the spikes is one of the main benefits you get. And like you say, eating this way, as full carnivore, you're not getting those insulin spikes, because like we said, protein does have some reaction to insulin, but to be honest, if you're eating a carb-free diet, the reaction from protein to insulin is actually a lot lower than if you're eating a carb diet and protein. And also, we actually want a slight reaction to insulin each day. It helps with our body, and as you said, we want to activate mTOR and help us to to build muscle synthesis and things like that. So it's not a bad thing. And like we say, insulin's not the bad guy. The issues come because we constantly have insulin raised. Insulin's not meant to be raised all the time. It's just meant to come up when we need it to and come back down. And so, yeah, that's one of the main benefits of fasting. Like you say, if you're not eating any carbohydrates, you're not spiking, so it's not as important. I do a mix. So a lot of times in the week, it just works better for me to still fast. I'll have probably 20-hour fasting windows each day, and I'll eat like 2 meals in the evening. Some days I might eat it as 1 meal, and then other days I will have breakfast in the morning, big breakfast, bacon and eggs, whatever, and then I'll eat again in the evening. So I'll maybe have 12 hours between each meal. And some days, like yesterday on the weekend, I actually ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I just felt like doing that. And it's fine to mix it up. And I think it's good to still have some fasting windows in there, because you have obviously the different processes like autophagy and things like that it's good to get in. But completely agree with Akis that it's not as important when you're full carnivore. And also, when you're at the beginning of your journey and you're looking to lose weight, I think fasting is more important then. So one of the guys on our challenge, he's basically gone, we're in the middle of our 30-day challenge, and he's gone full carnivore and he's fasting every day and he's getting amazing results. But it's more important for him than it is for me. Although we're eating the same food, the fasting is more important for him than me, because he's on his weight loss journey, and I'm already here. So there's different things to take into account. And fasting is a brilliant tool, as we said. I'm not saying don't fast, but it's not as important to be like I have to fast every day if you're eating the right food. Just something you should, as and when.
Yeah, it's about timing and the journey that the individual's on.
Yeah, completely. It's a personal situation. And then again, if you have an issue like a while back, I got I think I had some slight food poisoning, bacterial from some chicken. So I fasted for I think 2-3 days just to get rid of it. Just did like 2-3 day fast. It was gone, and then I was fine. So again, it depends on your situation. If you become sick and poorly, a couple day fast could get rid of it for you.
Yeah, I think it completely depends upon the individual. You need to look at, do you work shifts? What time do you get up? When do you like to work out? Have you ever worked out fasted before? So there's a lot of information to take in when you're working with people to really try and understand how are we going to integrate fasting into your life? Are we going for short fasts? Are we going for longer ones? Do we use fasting to then transition to a more animal-based diet, and then it becomes less important as you become more animal-based? Yeah. As you start to build the metabolic flexibility, can you then extend your fast a little bit longer? So it is quite nuanced, and it's very, very individual. But ultimately, both are just tools, and they both feed into each other. But I think, once, you're where you're, Ryan, it just becomes less important, because, the chances of you ever being overfed is impossible now, isn't it?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
Zero.
Yeah, exactly. And
Zero.
Yes, yesterday I ate 3 meals, but that's a rare occasion. Normally not more than 2. So even if you're not intermittent fasting, you're not snacking all day. I'll never ever be snacking, and that's another, snacking is another thing that's an issue that fasting gets rid of, because people just want to eat all the time, and they'll eat just a tiny little snack, but it's spiking your blood sugar. And I say to people, whenever if you cut, when I'm saying about intermittent fasting, you cut it down and say, look, if you want to eat a couple meals in that window, it's fine, but there's no snacking in between. So if you've got an 8-hour fasting window, if you eat 2 meals or 3 meals, fine, but don't snack in between. And obviously, I think the more that people eat better, the more they'll be happy with just the 2 meals rather than the 3 as well, because it fills you up and it satiates you. But yeah, as you say, there's a lot of nuance to it. It's a great tool, but when you're eating the right way, you don't have to get obsessed with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the snacking, why I don't understand why people can't transform in their minds that snacking and make it into a treat for later on, once they've had, their 2 meals and they've eaten quite healthy, then have it as a treat. It's your blood sugar's only been spiked once, and it's after a period of being in a fasted state and also taking in some nutritious food, so it's easier for the body to deal with. Have it after, at the end, as a treat, as a dessert or something. Instead of having that, you could have the same amount, you could be having it all the way through the day, and it's just spiking, your blood sugar, and it's no good. So
yeah, absolutely. And also there's the fact that if you eat your protein and fats first and then eat a carbohydrate, it will actually have less of a negative effect and give you less of a spike as well. So if you have it in the same meal but afterwards, then it will be better as well. So we'll jump onto, we've got one more meme to do and then one more question. So this one is basically a ton of junk food and seed oils at the top, and then a load of meat and butter and eggs and fat at the bottom. It says, no one said a word when I consumed these about the junk food. So now that I eat this, apparently I'm going to die. So I imagine we've probably all had people telling us this, Akis. I imagine you've experienced this too.
Yeah, massively. I've had this conversation a dozen times, and I think this plays into one of the themes that we've already covered about balance. People will look at the top and say, well, I see some balance there. I see some breakfast items. I see some lunch items. I see some snack items. There's a burger there, so we're getting a little bit of meat. I see we're getting some fiber, which is obviously really important. There looks to be some balance there. Yeah, so it plays into the theme of balance. The one in the bottom is, let's say, not balanced. It's just optimal. It's just what you should be eating. So that's one of the delusions that people suffer, is that there's not enough balance in the image at the bottom. And the second one probably goes kind of deep to the saturated fat phobia that people have. We've vilified saturated fat. People are scared of saturated fat. They think that A, it makes you fat, and B, it causes heart disease. So I think that just about covers it. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get this all the time from people too, asking questions about stuff like that. You're not going to get a heart attack. You're not worried about cholesterol, and the answer is no. I mean, Barry, have you had anything said to you about this?
Once or twice. When I'm telling certain people about my optimal eating, day-to-day optimal eating habits, they will question that. The main one I get is, are you not hungry? Are you not lacking in energy? Like, how do you go? Well, because I've done it slowly and I've done it the right way, and my body's fully adapted now, so it's just totally normal for me to eat later, to eat later on and take on calories and be in a completely fasted state for 20 hours. But yeah, I have had a few instances where it's obvious that the person is completely they're in that mindset where they've been duped into thinking that balance is really good. Well, it's not. It's just not necessary at all. You don't need balance when everything that you're having is optimal. You know, it's just not. It's like, I mean, you could attribute that to anything. You know, if somebody's really into fashion, for example, and they're really into clothes, would they like a wardrobe full of like the best clothes they could have, or half of the wardrobe nice clothes and the other half with rubbish that doesn't suit them? Like, what would you pick? You'd want the best, wouldn't you? You want the best of everything. So it's exactly the same with food and diet. What is the point of that balance? And the thing, you know, what Akis touched on, I think, in terms of the fiber, you know, if your diet is really, really optimal, you don't need to be consuming foods with fiber content. It's not necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with what both of you have said there. It's just, you know, the questions you get, as you say, like, are you not worried about saturated fat? You're not worried about cholesterol? Well, no, because saturated fat doesn't cause any kind of heart disease. Cholesterol is completely shown to not be dangerous for us at all. Cholesterol doesn't cause anything. There's no causal route for cholesterol. Cholesterol doesn't cause damage in your arteries. Cholesterol may be present in clots in your arteries because it goes there to heal the damage that's happened. Cholesterol doesn't cause it. The recent study on centenarians in Japan found that the average cholesterol level was 253, which is way outside the normal ranges. And in fact, the majority of studies, or pretty much all the studies, will show that actually low cholesterol leads to much earlier death or cause mortality. Low cholesterol is dangerous for us. High is not. There's lots of research on people with familial hypercholesterolemia. Dave Feldman's doing some great work at the moment on studies on it. These people have cholesterol absolutely off the charts due to a genetic thing, and they're absolutely fine. You know, they should all be dead if cholesterol was as dangerous as people made out, which they're not. And there's a very small subset of them which do have cardiovascular issues and can have heart attacks young. But that very small subset also have another genetic issue that comes with it for hypercoagulation, which means they clot easier. But anyone who doesn't have that other genetic difference, they're fine. So that shows us that, you know, cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol is essential to our body. You know, we can't do anything without cholesterol. Why would something that's so essential to us be so dangerous? It doesn't make any sense. But it kind of, the whole argument of this one and this meme just shows how brainwashed we are as a species. That, you know, if you look at that top row, just try and imagine in your head how many chemicals and additives and all kinds of things that we have no idea what they are or what they do are in those foods. And yet no one cares about your health eating them. The minute you start eating natural foods, you know, even if they're a bit worried about the fat levels, they're natural foods you're eating. Suddenly people feel so concerned about your health that they've got to come out and say something to you. You know, if an obese person sitting next to you eating McDonald's, no one's going to say to him, "You sure you should be eating that, mate?" But you're there, healthy, fit, eating a load of meat, and they're like, "I think you're going to get a heart attack."
Yeah. You know, the crazy thing is like, you know, you could go to McDonald's and order the patties, and you know, you've got a superfood there. You know, it's ground beef. They're not using any seed oils. It's kind of cooked in its own fat. So McDonald's do a superfood. The problem is what they wrap that superfood with.
Yeah, it's what comes with it.
Yeah, I have to say on a humorous note, Akis's McDonald's drive-through order is probably the funniest drive-through order in the history of McDonald's drive-throughs. I don't think anybody, any employee of McDonald's has ever had an order like that.
Yeah,
no buns,
10
no
patties
salad,
in a box.
No,
Nice.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Something that
so you should never get caught short. You can even go to McDonald's and thrive.
It's true. That's the thing. In fact, you know, I was recently, we were out yesterday for dinner, and you know, we go out somewhere, and I always will look at the menu if I'm going to order something like, say, a steak, and it's going to come with chips and veg, but then on the menu they've also got gammon and eggs, and I'll just say, look, I'm not going to eat the chips, I'm not going to eat the veg. Can I swap them for a couple of eggs? And most places will do it, and it's fine. So then I've just got steak and eggs on my plate. You know, you got to, you know, if that's what you want to eat, you're a customer there. you know, I'm not a vegan about it. If they said no, I won't throw a scene. I'll just say fine, just give me that, and I won't eat it. You know, but you can ask. You can always ask, and like you say, you can go to a fast food place and just get the burgers. Fine, you know, it's nothing wrong with that if you need to.
Yeah, just a couple other points. Ryan, you mentioned sort of blood panels and cholesterol. Do you know I had my, and you know this is a separate podcast in and of itself. I recently had my bloods done, and you know you can look at a scale sort of low, normal, high, yeah. And do you know who that's based on? Let's talk about the reference range for that person. Yeah,
It's based on sick people,
on somebody that's obese. Yeah. That's sick, because I look around and people my age, the vast majority of them are sick and obese.
Yeah.
So why are my reference ranges being benchmarked? Why are my numbers being benchmarked against that reference range?
Yeah. That's the thing. People think that reference range has been scientifically found to be the optimal for humans, but it's not. It's like they update it each year by like the first 10,000 people within the hospital. They okay, that's the average range. Well, no, they're sick people in the hospital. They're not healthy people.
Exactly.
As you say, why are we balancing on it? The whole Dave Feldman's research into lean mass hyper responders and what they're looking at. So the people who are really healthy, really lean, but have super high LDL, super high HDL, super low triglycerides, and you know it's seen as a subset, and they're looking into it. And the early tests seem to show that there's absolutely no risk for them, which is what I imagine it will be. But there's also kind of this theory that actually that's how we should all be. You know, that's how we actually as humans we should be, but we think it's weird because we've come so far away. You know, how many years have we been doing blood tests for? You know, humans been around for whatever, millions of years or thousands of years, whatever you think it is. And we've been doing blood tests for what, like the last 100 years or something. So how do we know what optimal levels are? We don't. We're basing them on sick people, like you said.
We don't. And, you know, we won't get into the weeds in it today, but, you know, you've just described where I'm at. My LDL is super high and my triglycerides are super low.
That's
perfect.
So
where's the problem?
That's it. You're absolutely fine. That's perfect. The only part of cholesterol you'd want to worry about being super high would be triglycerides. And most people like to eat our way will have reasonably high LDL, reasonably high HDL, and low triglycerides. That's perfect. People don't understand it. You know, you say when I always think when people say about it, if anyone mentions it, say, okay, well just tell me how cholesterol is going to damage me, because they can't, because there's no method for it. You know, cholesterol is a transport system, and it's healing. It's essential for our body. And as I say, there will be LDL in clots because it goes there to repair it. But what caused the damage in the first place? That's what's giving you your cardiovascular risk, and it's your high insulin, your sugar, your seed oils, and you know stuff being oxidized in your system. That's what it is. It's not the cholesterol. But as you say, we should do another podcast on that because we could really get into it, get carried away. So let's jump on to our last question, which is a really interesting one, which I think is the question that you've actually had, Akis. So it's about, and I hope I'm going to pronounce this right, how would you deal with a Gujarati Hindu who developed type 2 diabetes and doesn't eat meat? Gujarati, okay. There we go. So Akis, you jump in and give us yours.
Yeah, so this is actually former client that I worked with. This lady is about my age. We've worked together for many years. She went from being sort of subclinical pre-diabetic to being diagnosed with diabetes. She also suffered from glaucoma, so she was starting really to suffer with her eyesight. Overlaying onto that issue is our sort of religious belief. She's obviously she's a Hindu. She doesn't eat, well, I say she doesn't eat animal products. The saving grace was that she does eat some animal-based products. So I really had to kind of get into the weeds here to find out what is sort of consistent with your religious beliefs and how can we leverage that to try and mitigate some of these problems. So what did we do? We found out that she does like eggs. So I'm thinking to myself, fantastic. We've got a nutritional superfood here that basically covers all the bases. You can pretty much thrive on eggs, yeah? So we've got our protein covered, we've got our bioavailable vitamins covered, we've got our omega-3 covered, you know, even the egg yolk itself, yeah, is all that this lady actually needs to thrive. Then we started to look at some other food groups. It turns out that, you know, she enjoys curries, so she eats a lot of ghee, clarified butter. So we had to figure out a way, right, okay, we're really going to up your fat here, but how do we do that within the context of lowering your carbohydrate intake as well? because I think we want to create the perfect storm where I'm upping our fat content, but at the same time our carbohydrates are quite fat as well. So I really pushed for a sort of egg heavy, a ghee heavy, butter heavy, yogurt. We got her eating quite a lot of yogurt, sort of Turkish eggs type meals. So we have the egg with extra egg yolk, but with the butter and the yogurt as well. So she started eating meals like that. We introduced things like avocado, which she loved. So introducing some sort of monounsaturated fats as well, plant-based, and also olives and coconut. So with that sort of structure, we came up with a meal plan that kept it low in carbohydrates and gave her all of the fat that she needed to thrive, and addressed all her vitamin deficiencies at the same time. And we didn't go for a long fast. We went for about a 16 and 8. So that 16 and 8 gave our body time to sort of repair the damage that was done, you know, in becoming diabetic. And within 3 months, she normalized our hemoglobin A1C. And, you know, the doctor's asking, what did you do? You know, and she told him, the doctor was like, wow, that's amazing. Well, just keep doing what you're doing. And it's not often that you get that advice.
No.
Usually they're sort of, well, you need to be careful. You know, I know you're eating a lot of fat, and, you know, I know you feel better. I know your blood markers, when you look better and your eyesight's improved, and, you know, I can probably take you off your meds now, but it usually comes with a caveat or a warning. Yeah. But this doctor was like, you know, I've heard of this. I didn't want to recommend it, but it seems to be working for you, you know, as though it's maybe just individual to Bav. But I challenge anybody to eat this way and not improve all of their biomarkers, but all of the physical symptoms as well.
Yeah.
So it was quite a transformation, and done under quite difficult circumstances, because obviously we didn't have someone who eats meat, and, you know, that can present a huge challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it shows that, you know, that there's multiple ways to do these things, but also that it's really not that hard when you know what you're doing, because even without the optimal food of meat, she still managed to reverse her diabetes, you know, and you'd say that we're missing out the optimal food group. You still managed to do it. You know, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is a disease of too much carbohydrate and too much insulin spike. So like you say, fasting, that would have been my first thing to say. If she's not going to eat meat and stuff, definitely would concentrate on fasting, because, you know, that's going to be hugely beneficial to her. You know, just a bit of fasting and lowering your carbs could be enough to reverse, depending on how bad your type 2 diabetes is. As you say, getting more fats in there, and that can be enough to reverse it. Like that's not even too crazy something to come across, and it's reversed it. But yet there's nothing out there in the mainstream telling people that. And if you look at, you know, the American Diabetes Association and other countries' advice, it's just high carb. There's none of that in there. There's none of what you were talking about there. There's no intermittent fasting in there. They're not talking about get your fats nice and high. It's 70-80% carbs. And, you know, it's really not actually that hard to do these things. And,
you know, the sad thing is there's hundreds of millions of people who are Gujarati and who do not eat meat, and sadly they've adopted our way of eating. You know, they've introduced the seed oils into their diet. They've introduced refined carbohydrates. Yeah. And there is a way where they can eat consistent with their religious beliefs that will actually remove the very high incidence of chronic disease in that population. And it seems to be obscure for them. It's very sad, actually.
Yeah, I mean, India is the highest rate of diabetes in the entire world, because, of course, you know, they have a very plant-based, grain-based diet, don't they? It's all carbohydrates, their diet. As you say, there's hardly any meat in it. And they have huge incidence of diabetes. So it's just showing that they can stick to their, as you say, their roots and their culture, their diet, but yet still fix diabetes if they just understand how to do it and how to approach it.
Yeah, the insult to injury was when they swapped out ghee for vegetable oil.
Yeah.
That's it.
Vegetable oil's a killer, really is.
Yeah. There's seed oils of, you know, they've done a lot of damage. Recently I found, I didn't even realize this. It was crazy to me. There's actually people online. Obviously, you know, when we come to, you know, you got vegans defend this side, and and meat eaters looking at this. Like, there's actually people out there that defend seed oils and try and think they're healthy. Like, I was like, they blew my mind. I was like, how are these people out there? There's actually people defending them.
Well, what rationale are they using, Ryan? What nonsense are they using to back up that claim?
Saturated fat. It's all based, predicated upon the fact that saturated fat is detrimental to health, and polyunsaturates are healthier. Where do these polyunsaturates come from? I would love to know where they exist in nature.
Exactly. Also, one of the interesting things is that obviously whenever you get fat in anything, it will have all three types of fats. And saturated fat is actually less than half of what you get from animal fat. So it's not even just, you get all the other fats in animal fat too. And anywhere else you get fat, you get some saturated fat. So it's just, again, it's one of those things where they've got this idea, they've ingrained it in everyone, and they've just latched onto it. But none of it actually even makes any sense, as we know, but it's just trying to help people to understand that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, more garbage, and we're calling it out, Ryan. So
yeah, that's it. That's what we got to do. Educating people, trying to help people, and help people to look after their own health. So I think that's we've covered a good amount today. We don't want to overload people. I think that's good. Akis, thank you so much again for coming on and giving us your time. Is there any final thoughts? Anything else you'd like to add before you go? Anything we've missed out?
No, it's been a pleasure, guys. I've learned a lot today as well, and there's always more topics to cover. Maybe we can get into blood work one week. I'm just not quite there at my knowledge level yet. I want to be absolutely nail it before we get into that. I think that would make an interesting future topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to get into one on that. That's good. It's a very interesting topic again, and one where again there's a lot of misinformation around it. As you say, as we already talked about the levels and things like that. So yeah, that would be great to get into. Barry, again, thanks again for being here. Any final thoughts you have, or any final little tidbits to leave us with?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, Ryan. Great conversation. A lot of great, really knowledgeable stuff there. I hope the viewers enjoyed it. And just on Akis, thanks for coming on. And also look forward to hearing about the update on your hypno fasting method next time as well. Looking forward to hearing how that develops.
Yeah, I can maybe play some of my webinar next time we meet up and give people a flavour of what I do.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. Definitely, yeah.
And just on just the final thing, I think we're over halfway through our 30-day challenge, and some of the results have been really encouraging. So working with this group, and looking forward to presenting them next month. But everyone is making progress, and a couple of great stories coming out. So looking forward to sharing that.
Absolutely, it's going great. And in fact, we've already had people within the last week. I've had people try to sign up to it who are obviously too late. So I've already spoke to them, and I think we're going to do it again in January. We'll do another 30-day challenge in January for these people to get in as well and get more people on board. But yeah, it's been going really great. People have had brilliant results, which obviously we knew would happen. And so definitely make sure that people get signed up for that next time. And thank you for being here today. Hopefully people have learned some new things, and tune into the podcast every week to keep learning more. We'll keep getting the education out there for you. We'll see you next time, and let's get optimal together. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover on the podcast, or you'd like to appear on it, then please contact us at hwpoduk@gmail.com, on our website, which is healthwealthuk.com, or on any of our social medias, which are at hwpoduk. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share it with all your friends and family, and we will see you next week.